Joining us on the show this evening is Sidharth Birla, President of FICCI. Mr. Birla, thanks for joining us here on ET. Now, you've been speaking to a lot of CEOs over the last couple of weeks, and the sense that everyone's giving us is that the new government needs to focus on the ease of doing business. What do you think can the new government do to improve the ease of doing business?
Again, in our opinion, you see, ease of doing business is in two parts. One is the actual rules and how the rules and regulations operate. There, we believe a very serious relook is required. We've been suggesting various formulas like sunset clauses for old laws, or we've heard some political parties saying that every time you introduce a new law, why don't you try to dump 10 old laws? Many permutations, combinations can be tried, but we need to dismantle an overly regulated atmosphere of what FICCI tends to also call a control raj in many ways. That is one part. The second part is the general atmosphere, how do we deal with institutions, how do we deal with people. That is as difficult as the interpretation of the laws. So I think we need to streamline certain things on the decision-making side, and that can be done, really speaking, by removing discretion, and that will make the decision-making very transparent. So if we start removing discretion, that means the moment you apply, you know that this is going to happen or you're going to hear a no. It's not going to be, if, sorry, thank you. And if discretion is removed, I think business will become a lot easier in this country.
All right, no longer if, sorry, thank yous. But Mr. Birla, what about labour laws? Is there an urgent need to have a relook at some of those? It's been a long-standing demand of the industry. Is the time finally ripe and right?
There is, of course, and we've been saying that for a long time. As a matter of fact, you'll find any number of studies which demonstrate or which at least lead to the conclusion that had our labour laws been a little more practical, we would have seen a little less capital intensity and more labor intensity in the country, which would have partly taken care of the jobs issues. And overnight, I can imagine it's not easy to overturn labor laws which have been in existence for such a long time without a more thorough debate. But perhaps a solution does lie in grandfathering the old clause, for labor already, which is already employed, and having a slightly softer regime for, say, a 3-year period or a 5-year period for incremental labor. Now, that could, when people are looking at their investment plans, that could bring down some capital intensity in favor of some labor intensity.
Right, Mr. Birla, what about privatization? Should that also be on top of the agenda of the next government? We haven't seen any privatization in the last 10 years. Should that be back on the agenda?
A new government should look at it. In my book, it should probably be high up on the agenda, maybe not on top of the agenda, but I can see some practical issues in the way. So therefore, I would say it should be on the agenda. It should be on a serious agenda, but whether it should be taken up in the first 50 or 100 days, I don't know. I can't say. There is definitely a case for the government to look at diluting itself, say, on the banks, because the banks today are undergoing a lot of stress, and the banks need to raise serious amounts of capital, and the government is not going to be able to put that capital in. So I think we need to find some inventive ways that maybe the government can like to come down to 25 or 26% and keep some golden share for control, etc., but let the bank recapitalization take place through the market. And I think that would be a very positive signal. Now, that is not privatization. At the same time, that is a very strong signal that the government is prepared to take practical steps.
All right, talking about sending signals, Mr. Birla, what do you think really needs to be done to repair relations that have been at an all-time low as far as industry on one hand is concerned and government on the other?
I think this factor of trust has to come back. And trust is, nice talking, whether on industry side or whether on government side, is not going to build trust. I think trust has to be based on certain demonstrated deliverables. So from the government side, wherever these are the kind of decisions that I'm talking about, if they show the resolve to come forward and resolve these. For example, the retrospective thing, now it's a huge signal to domestic industry as well as foreign industry if one was to sit on a table and resolve the retrospective tax issue, because that is something that is occupied top of mind for everybody. I don't say it is critical to making new investments, but I think it's critical to forming a climate.
It's critical for forming a climate. Mr. Birla, thanks for joining in with that perspective right here on ET Now. That's the view coming in from FICCI.